Alright, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about Lynx for now. This is the 4-star coming out in 1.3 alongside, I believe it's going to be Fu Xuan, don't quote me on that though. And for this character, she's Abundance Quantum, which means she's a healer with the Quantum element, which is quite good. And lastly, the TLDR, and lastly, the small tidbit, the FYI, this is being recorded well before her release, so some things may change, but mostly should stay roughly the same. Swiftly moving into her kit, her basic attack is just a single hit of some quantum damage of the user's max HP though, which needs to be noted down, is that instead of her attack being the scalar, it's her HP. Now, that's quite new and quite nifty, and can prove very powerful if you build the character with HP in mind, which is what she scales with. Moving on to her skill though, Salted Camping Cans applies a survival response and increases a single target's allies' max HP by 7.5 of Lynx's max HP plus 200. If the target is a character on the path of destruction or the preservation, the chance of them being attacked by the enemy will increase. Survival response lasts for 2 turns and restores the target's HP by 12% of Lynx's max HP plus 320 points. Very cool, very interesting. Now, the actual thing to really note down with this ability is the fact that it increases the target ally's max HP by 7.5 of Lynx's max HP plus 200. It's not a heal there. There is a heal at the very end. The very end has a heal. But the actual first part is an increase of max HP, meaning that if you use this on, let's say, something like a blade, you're actually getting more damage output because he has higher max HP, and thus his scaling is increased. So on top of this being a kind of an aggro increase with that middle section, you've also got a heal at the end, as well as a scale increase with the actual max HP increase from the first part, which is overall a very powerful skill, and for very specific teams is going to be very, very good. Going on to Lynx's ultimate, Snowfield First Aid Plan. It's a very simple one. Dispel 1 debuff from all allies and immediately restore their HP equal to 13.5% of Lynx's max HP plus 360. It's overall just a simple one, but very useful, and it's also the first character that has a mass dispel of debuffs from all allies. Currently, we've only had 2 characters that have single target dispels, something like a Bronya with her skill, as well as Natasha with her skill. Now we have a bit more of a group dispel, which is actually very useful when you have major debuffs applied to every party member. So, very useful ultimate. Next, we have the Talent Outdoor Survival Experience. When using Lynx's skill or ultimate, applies a continuous heal to the target ally for 2 turns, restoring HP equal to 3.6 of Lynx's max HP plus 96 at the start of each turn. And if the target has survival response, the continuous healing effect additionally restores HP equal to 4.5% of Lynx's max HP plus 120. Very good talent as well. Essentially, your skill and ultimate apply a massive healing, kind of hot healing over time effect, and if the target has the elemental skill applied to them, then you get more healing on that specific character. Overall, an extremely powerful healing talent. Doesn't provide anything other than that, but to keep your whole team alive, it's going to be very, very useful. Next, we've got the Talent Chocolate Energy Bar. After Lynx uses her technique at the start of the next battle, all allies are granted the continuous healing effect from her talent for 2 turns. Actually rather powerful, as you'll just start off with the talent effect. I don't think it's going to be something that you're going to prioritize, but if you are in the simulated universe or something along those lines and you have a lot of low HP characters, then using this technique will actually be quite high value. And then the last part of the standalone kit, we've got the bonus abilities. We've got the first one, Survival in the Extreme, extends the duration of the continuous healing effect caused by the talent for 1 turn. Very powerful, means that you're going to have to use, or you don't have to use your ultimate as frequently to apply the mass healing over time effect, which is overall very, very useful, and more healing just in general. The exploration techniques is number 2. The chance to resist crowd control debuffs increases by 30%. This one's very interesting. It's much like a previous character that we've had, but I'm not sure its usefulness, as I'm not sure how it exactly interacts with effect resistance rate, but regardless, you have a 30% increased chance to resist debuffs for a healer, which is really useful. And lastly, we've got Advanced Surveying. After a target with survival response is hit, Lynx regenerates 2 energy immediately, which actually is rather powerful, as well, that is the character that gets the aggro increase, because survival response is from the skill effect, and you'll just be able to regenerate a fair bit more energy if you kind of use this character correctly. Maybe use a tank character with an aggro regeneration or forced aggro, something along those lines. You'll be able to get a lot of value out of this bonus ability. Now, talking about the character as a standalone character, no constellations, no light codes, no nothing like that. Actually, like, really powerful. And if you do get this one, I think I'm gonna make a bold statement here, maybe a hot take, as some would call it nowadays, is that she'll probably end up being the best healer in the game, second to only maybe Lao Sha. Lao Sha is probably gonna go ahead in terms of utility, as the method of his healing is very, very overpowered. But Lynx is going to be a close second, and it's mainly because of that dispelling and the style of healing. It's very powerful passive healing over time, and as soon as your turn happens and then you have the healing over time effects, you get healed, as well as that mass dispel is extremely powerful for a lot of enemies that we're encountering, enemies that have aggro forcings, enemies that have snare effects, enemies that have mind control, all that kind of stuff. Lynx is kind of a powerhouse with that, and if you get a lot of effect resistance, you'll be able to quite easily always, make sure your team is not mind controlled and the sorts, the things that Kafka does. So, standalone, very good character. I think she becomes the second best healer, best if you kind of take into consideration Quantum, and you need Quantum specifically, but regardless, not talking about best, I think she's a very good character, and if you do get her, go ahead and build her very, very powerful, even without constellations. And now, who would I be if I didn't talk about the Eidolons, though? Now, she gets major bonuses from the Eidolons, as per usual with every character. Starting off with the first one, Morning of Snow Hike. When healing allies with HP equal to or lower than 50%, Lynx's outgoing healing increases by 20%. This effect also works on the continuous healing that she applies. Overall, just makes her healing potential much, much, much greater. Very useful for just general having a character on the team, keeping your characters alive. So overall, great. Eidolon 2, we've got Noon of Portable Furnace. Very odd, these names, by the way. A target with survival response can resist debuff application for 1 time. Very useful. The buff that her elemental skill applies to the single character will have a resistant effect to 1 debuff application. Overall, very useful. It's not going to be this kind of super overpowered thing, but it's good to have if you don't want a certain character to have a debuff. Specifically, maybe if you have a Jing Yuan and, his Lightning Lord's about to hit, but he gets frozen. Well, if he had this effect, you'd be able to resist that freeze effect, and then your Jing Yuan would not be postponed in his attack chain, which is overall very useful. Eidolon 3, Afternoon of Avalanche. This one is skill +2 as well as basic attack +1. Very good. Eidolon 4, Dusk of Warm Campfire. When survival response is gained, increase the target's attack by an amount equal to 3% of Lynx's max HP for 1 turn. Now, here's where we get into the supporting effect of this character. You're able to get some sort of attack boost. Now, I should say that this is not capped. This doesn't say anywhere that you can only get a certain amount, so this is kind of an infinitely scaling, kind of infinitely exponentially scaling kind of system. So if you can get a ridiculously high amount of, HP on your Lynx, 3% of that is being just added to the character with survival response, which is gained from the skill effect. Very good, very powerful, nice. Eidolon 5, Knight of Aurora T. This one is Ultimate +2 as well as Talent +2. And then last one, E6, Dawn of Explorer's Chart. Further increase the survival response max HP increment effect, which is equal to 6% of Lynx's max HP. Also, increase effect resistance by 30. Very good, makes her scaling just much larger. Overall, a great effect, and you also get effect resistance increased by 30%. Presumably, that is on the character with survival response. That's at least my assumption. But if it isn't, and it's just to Lynx herself, that's also just fine. Regardless of who gets the effect resistance, someone is getting it, and it's going to be a mad bonus. Overall, great Eidolons. Nothing too ridiculously overpowered, let's be absolutely honest. And because this is a 4-star, it's not going to be too difficult to get this character to E6 and just have a nice, strong unit. But I will say that I think her best kind of investment value is going to be around the E1 mark. Just a bit of extra healing to keep everyone alive. You're not really necessarily going to need that resist debuff application. It's a nice bonus, but the chance that you're going to utilize it like 100% of the time is very low. As well as that attack increase, whilst you can get it to be extremely powerful, it's going to take a lot of build investment for Lynx to actually get a decent amount of HP, so you can actually get a decent amount of attack from it, as it is only 3%. And so you're going to need about 10k HP to even get 300, if that isn't even the correct mathematics, to get even 300 attack, which still could make a difference, but it's still very minute and very build intensive. And then the last one, it's nice and all, it's great, more scaling, but it's also at C6. So my recommendation, if you're just looking to invest very minutely into this character, then it's going to go for the E1 Morning of Snow hike, which just increases her healing throughput. Now, going on to the light cones, there's 2 5 stars as of right now, and no new abundance 5 stars or 4 stars coming out in 1.3. So we're going to have to go with the list that we have available to us right now. And the best for her, for Lynx specifically, if you're making her, trying to make her the best healer, it's going to be Time Waits for No One, which is buy, lose, best in slot. This one's going to be Lynx's best in slot for the 5-star category as well as overall, because overall it just does amazing things. HP increased, outgoing healing, and a form of damage throughput through outgoing healing. Overall, it's going to be her best one just for being a better character. So simply put, that's what it is. The second one, Echoes of a Coffin, which is for Lao Sha, is not recommended as it is a completely different stat that you're scaling with. It's actually attack percentage and no HP or no outgoing healing, so you're not actually getting any bonuses from using this one. So unfortunately, Echoes of the Coffin is not really usable for Lynx. Going on to all the 4 stars though, all the 4 stars function very well in their own respective way. A post-op conversation is going to be one of the better ones, as well as a shared feeling is also going to be just fine, as these two provide a healing bonus as well as some form of a nice little kind of extra bit of energy or something along those lines, effect resistance. It'll provide something like that. A perfect timing is a bit more niche, and you have to get effect resistance to get healing output, as well as quid pro quo is a bit more niche, as well as warmth shortens the cold nights is fine as well. It just has a flat increase of healing, or rather a flat healing based on the actual individual character's HP. So it's a bit less optimal. So for the 4 stars, they all do function fine, but you're going to get more value out of the post-op conversation or the shared feeling. But as I said, Time Waits for No One is going to be her best in slot by a large margin. And going on to the relics, there's a few different sets that are kind of going to be the recommended for her. So if you're going for the healing output, healing throughput kind of build, Passerby of Wandering Clouds is going to be your relic set, and for your planar ornaments, it's going to be Fleet of the Ageless. Passerby increases healing output as well as a bit of a skill point regen at the start of a battle, and then Fleet of the Ageless is a scaling increase with max HP, as well as an attack increase for all allies based on speed. So that's going to be the build for her for healing throughput as it just... But if you want it to be a bit more useful in terms of utility, and you think her healing is just fine without the set bonuses, then you can go for some of the newer things or some of the universal buffers like Messenger of Traversing Sky, which increases speed, and then on ultimate, when allies are affected by it, you get more speed increase, which is actually quite useful as her ultimate does affect everyone and has a healing over time effect and then a speed effect, and it's kind of a great, actually, a build Messenger of Traversing Hackerspace. And then as the planar ornament, you can go for something like Broken Keel, which is effect resistance by 10, and then when the wearer's effect resistance is at 30 or higher, all crit damage of all allies is increased by 10. This is also very useful, as it's just, you're going to probably go for an effect resistance build with her, as she's a healer and you don't want her to be getting CC'd and all that. But you also could go for Sprightly Von Whack, that's also just fine energy regen. I wouldn't recommend Sprightly Von Whack, as I think it's actually universally terrible, but you can, I guess, if you want. And you can also mix and match these depending on what you need. If you need attack throughout all of your characters, then you can put Fleet of the Ageless and Hackerspace. If you want the extra skill point, then you can go Passerby and Hackerspace, Passerby and Broken Keel. You can kind of mix and match these for here to your own kind of desire. It's not kind of this exclusive thing to go for a specific combo. You can mix and match them depending on what you want, but these are the 4 recommendations that I think I would recommend, as well as this website would recommend. So go for those. And finally, just a bit of character composition. So Lynx is a quantum character and she's a healer. Now, quantum usually just wants to only work with quantum and things like that. So Silverwolf, Sealy, things like that are going to be obviously her best in slot, but there's a bit of universality, if that's even the right word, with Lynx, is that she's a healer, and she's a goddamn good healer at that, with a very unique effect of the Dispel effect. Now, it's not a unique concept, but she's one of the few characters that has a good version of it. Now, because of her role in that way, she can be used with anything, and if you need a healer, chuck her on, she'll be able to get the job done just right. Now, Like I said, her best team is going to be kind of the mono quantum bullshit that people talk about. That's going to be her most likely her best in slot for a large portion of the game. But again, use her wherever you need a healer. It's not really that kind of intricate. It's not a deep concept to talk about healers. Just use it wherever you need a healer. And that's pretty much the whole spiel. She's a good character, high value, very good 4-star, and I'm kind of excited for her release, although I probably won't end up getting her. I do like the idea of adding a good healer to the game, and that's going to be the Lynx video. A lot shorter, a lot quicker than the other two, because it's a much simpler character, and also kind of rushed as this is in the last moments. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed, hope it was helpful to explain this character, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.